Hey y'all, hey, I'm back with another video. So I know recently I have been on a like a wrestling kick or whatever. So I just wanted to do a quick video since Bad Blood was yesterday, just with a few thoughts. So if you're new to this channel, I am not an avid wrestling watcher. So this is gonna be coming from a casual, viewer. So I started paying attention to wrestling more consistently once this WrestleMania just happened in Philly. I think that was like in April. So since April to now, October. So this is pretty much like a 6 month review from a casual fan who hasn't watched wrestling in like almost a decade, right? So just as like a basis, I grew up in the attitude slash ruthless aggression era. Those are the people that I'm familiar with. That's kind of when like I was a kid, preteen, like really being into wrestling. Really, once like I hit high school, so that would be like around the 2010s for me is when I was in high school, um, in college also. Uh, that's when I really didn't pay attention, so I don't really know too much about the time in between. So again, if I don't know everybody's name, I know the wrestling fans be having diehards. If I don't know everybody's name, I'm sorry. If I don't say people's name correctly, I'm sorry. If I'm getting the storylines mixed up, I am sorry. This is all coming from a casual person, so casual viewer, right? So I do have Raw. That's always recorded, not necessarily SmackDown. I catch SmackDown when I can, but shout out to Peacock because they're making it a whole lot easier for me. I appreciate it. So I haven't watched every single episode. I haven't watched every single, not pay per view, but when I was growing up, that's what it was called, pay per view events or whatever. But I'm pretty caught up, right? Okay, so a few things that I wanted to point out, just like coming back into wrestling, like I said, after a little bit more than a decade, all right? So again, I come from the ruthless aggression slash attitude era. So for me, getting back into wrestling, one of the main things that I noticed is it seems like it's much more kid friendly, which we'll get to in a second because I feel like they're starting to make a turn. But it feels more kid friendly. I know me, my boyfriend, and my sister watched maybe Raw like the other day, and even they were like, it just comes off like real kiddie. Like it, I don't know if it's, I think it's a combination of the characters and the way that they actually wrestle. So, like, again, growing up, yes, you had people that always like did the most. So, like, The Rock is like infamous for like doing the absolute most, like, especially when he gets thrown on his back and stuff. But there was still a hint of realism to it that grabbed us. And I just feel like when I look at, and I'm just specifically right now talking about the wrestling aspect. I get that you can't hit people, but it's just so obvious, and to me, that's what makes it kiddie. Like I'm not trying to be funny. Then if we get to the characters to me, they've come a lot further. I feel like with character development, it seems like the characters have a little bit more of nuanced, like range, but you still got a lot of corny ass shit, which we'll get to later. Something else that I noticed a lot, big difference is that there are more women wrestlers, and not just like in the sexy, role of, like shout out to Trish Stratus, Stacy Keebler. Like there are more Chinas than I've seen before, if that makes sense. In the sense of it seems like they're focusing on the wrestling for the girls and not just, oh, who's cute. I want to say, other than maybe like Liv Morgan, to me is the closest I see so far, is like maybe a little bit like how they used to treat girls back in the day. But I appreciate it. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the whole bloodline situation. Now, not the specific like Rock and Rhodey. I said Rock and Rhodey, the Rock and Rhodes and the Rhodes whole story. I'm just saying, as a casual viewer, right, that's jumping back into this thing after a decade and some change. One thing it has, now it's been hard to kind of like piece all of the storylines together, especially jumping in and not having any idea of anything of where to start. But I will say that one of the things that's made it easier to grasp is the fact that everybody's related. So understanding the Rey Mysterio to Dominic Mysterio, once I found that out, I was like, oh, boom, got it. You know, how Roman Reigns and all of those people are all connected to The Rock. Love that. Cody Rhodes, his daddy, Dusty Rhodes. It makes it a whole lot easier from my point of view, at least somebody who hasn't watched in a long time, to get, okay, that's somebody that I know, that's their brother, that's their sister, that's their son, that's their cousin. It makes it a whole lot easier. So I appreciate the bloodlines. And I think that's dope that, like, it's like not just a family business in the sense of the McMahons, it's just like a family business across. It seems like that's just like a big thing, and I love that. Something else, SmackDown and Raw, right? Okay, so again, I've been doing my best to watch both. I'm mostly watching Raw because that's what I have recorded, but I do go back and I watch SmackDown. Now, this is where I need y'all help in the comments. When I was growing up, the whole concept of a draft, you know, like the WWE draft and the Raw draft, didn't come on to a whole lot later, like maybe like towards the tail end of me like watching wrestling. But Raw and SmackDown used to share wrestlers a lot, and I can tell that they do that a little bit here. But the biggest difference for me growing up is that SmackDown was on at the time, which was what was UPN, which is now the CW, which is network television, and then you know Raw was always on cable or whatever, USA. SmackDown was always more kid friendly in the sense of it's on network TV, so there's only but so much that you can do. Versus Raw was more, pun intended, raw. Like it was more violent because you can get away with a whole lot more on cable TV than you can on network TV. I'm not really seeing the difference because when I look at Raw, it doesn't seem like they're pushing the envelope much more than they do on SmackDown. What it seems to me is like SmackDown has like the the stars, like the really really big stars, and then Raw has stars too, but maybe a little bit of a lower caliber than what they got going on over there on SmackDown. But y'all get in the comments, and as wrestling fans, can y'all please explain to me, like in 2024, what is the difference? Like, what is the difference with SmackDown and Raw? Like, y'all just tell me from a straight wrestling perspective, hell, even if it's marketing perspective, what is the difference? Because as a casual viewer, I can't tell. I don't really see the difference. I also like the fact that the WWE is way more international now. So again, growing up, it wasn't like that. But you know, obviously with technology, the internet and everything, you know, I would assume that the WWE probably even like 10, 20 years ago, you know, was able to bring in an international audience. But now, again, with everything being so interconnected, it's probably even easier, you know, for them to gain an international fan base. So I think that's great. That they're like they went to Berlin, they went to Puerto Rico, they went like I love that idea, especially because the international crowds are always better than the U.S. crowds, and I feel like that's because they have a different appreciation for things than we do over here in America. We're real spoiled, and so the WWE is always going around the country all the time. So I feel like there is a lack of appreciation. And so when they go overseas, they're going to places that they don't normally go. So these people are going to be turned up because they don't get the chance, you know, every couple of months or whatever to be able to see these people. So I really, really love that. Love that. Like France, Jay Uso's France entrance this year. I don't know what it was to. I don't know if it was for Backlash, SummerSlam. That was everything. Like that crowd in France was going crazy. Like that entrance, top tier, top tier. I also love the Peacock deal. Again, I haven't watched wrestling, but I have paid attention to like their little moves strategically throughout the year. So I know for a little bit of time they tried to do like a premium like subscription based type of situation. I'm gonna assume that didn't go well, so they moved over to Peacock. They've moved over to Peacock, I want to say, for like the last year or two. I love it. I love it. I love it. I specifically love the back catalog because similar to like soap operas, because to me wrestling is like a soap opera. um it's hard to kind of keep up. It's easy to kind of fall back into things, but sometimes it's hard to keep up because every single week there's a new episode. So back in the day, if you missed it, you missed it. If you didn't tape it, that's it. You're fucked. You better look at the previews of the new episode coming out to figure out what just happened in the past. But I love the fact that not only are all of the regular episodes, like right now, I'm going all the way back so I could try to catch up. If I could watch all these episodes of Law and Order, I can do this. I am on season 1 of SmackDown and season 8 of Raw, because those line up like time period wise. And I'm gonna watch it all the way through. And the best part, like I said, outside of being able to watch all the episodes, is all of the pay-per-view events. So let's take a walk back in time for a second from my young bucks, right? So back in the day, there was this thing called pay-per-view, right? So literally, you pay per view. You would go on cable or whatever, they would have all of these little blacked out channels or whatever, and they will always have phone numbers on it. So for a UFC fight, I mean, not that UFC was a big thing, but boxing fight, anything like that, and you would have to pay an additional amount of money to pretty much watch this event live. So because we didn't have a lot of money like that, the majority of these pay-per-view events I missed, unless I went to like my grandfather's house, who loved wrestling and was always gonna buy everything that wrestling did. Outside of that, I didn't really get to see a lot of these like classic matches. So it's gonna be fun for me to be able to go back and see like certain WrestleManias that I didn't get to see, certain Royal Rumbles, like those type of things. That's gonna be a lot of fun for me, a lot, because a lot of times I only knew what happened because I'm watching SmackDown and I get to see what happened during the pay-per-view event. But again, I love that, and I love that now, thankfully, the way the internet is, it doesn't work like that no more. You're not cutting people off and like shunning a portion of your audience because maybe they can't afford to see something. Love that part. Social media. The use of social media is great. The live tweeting from Pat McAfee, sometimes I see from the ringside, great. The way that they just recently did, okay, so Bad and Blood, I keep saying Back in Blood, shout out to Pooh Shiesty and Dirk, but Bad Blood just happened, right? It goes off. The Rock puts up this promo on his Instagram, going the fuck off, hilarious, and then somebody catches Kevin Nash fucking turning heel and beating Cody Rhodes' ass in the back. Like, and that clip is now like circulating all throughout Twitter and is online. I love that. Like, that's great. Like, let's keep the show going. And they talked about kayfabe during the documentary, the Mr. McMahon documentary, and how it's not, how they kind of broke that. I think today, if there's any time you want to do that, it's now, because people are paying attention 24/7. So I feel like if anytime you want to be implementing kayfabe, do it now, because it's the best time. We have 24/7 access to these stars. So I think it just makes sense to try to keep the storyline going. I think that was so smart to do that off camera. That's great. That's great for engagement. Amazing. Loved it. But what I will say, all of that to say, I do feel like, though, I've come into the WWE during I would say, like, transitional period. I'm very familiar, obviously, with everything that went on with Vince. And I feel as if there is a change. Like, I feel like that's when I'm coming in. Although I said that it's very, very kid-friendly, I can tell that there is some type of effort being made to kind of get away from that a little bit. The Bad Blood event that just happened yesterday, to me, is a clear sign of that. We'll get into that a little bit more. But there, to me, is a little bit of a shift in violence, like in not trying to be so necessarily kid or family friendly. I also can tell that there is an obvious push, an obvious calculated push to get the WWE back into the mainstream pop culture lexicon, and specifically really using like black people to do it, because y'all know if black people say it's hot, it's hot. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny, but we know how this go. We curate cool, right? And so I can just tell the effort. Again, grown up, you did not have to be into wrestling. You could have never watched one episode of wrestling to know who The Rock was, to know who Stone Cold Steve Austin was, to know who like John Cena is, like the Batista, like they're stars, stars. Back to the conversation of stars, right? Because that's going to be the next thing that we go into. The stars weren't starring like that, from my understanding, from the 2010s. You know, I just finished watching a WWE, I think it's like the Loudest Pops or whatever, and I watched part one. So throughout me watching this reaction, like, you know, this compilation, they're putting, you know, different moments of like people winning the belt and a championship. And I promise you, a lot of those people I've never heard of. One of the people from New Day apparently won a belt. Never heard of that guy day in my life until I started watching in the last 6 months. Another black guy won. Never heard of him until I started watching. Again, I think that was kind of the problem, like in the 2010s for them, is that they didn't really have a star that was that like crossed over outside of wrestling. So some of the people, so I had to write down some of the people that I knew prior to like getting back in. So the people that I had somewhat heard of, and I'll be specific. So Rhea Ripley, I did not know who she was, but I saw her. Like, I didn't know her as far as namesake, but I knew like her aesthetic. I knew all of that. Roman, because he's fine as hell. He's all up and down my timeline. Fine, 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 fine. CM Punk, didn't really know nothing about him. I just knew that he was a wrestler and a lot of people liked him. And Bianca, because obviously Black Girl Magic Club, Black Girl, Black Girl, Black Girl, okay? But everybody else I never really heard of. And I think that really hurt the WWE, is that they did not have a Stone Cold star. And, pun intended, Stone Cold Steve Austin. But, you know, and the WWE to sustain, they need stars, like big stars. And really think about it. The stars, quote unquote, from the WWE are stars that are from the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. The Rock, John Cena, Batista, fucking hell, even Brock Lesnar to a fucking degree. Like, those are people from that era. I don't really know too many. Oh, and the Miz, and that's simply because of the Real World, because I watched that. You know what I mean? But they need somebody that's gonna be able to carry like that. And I feel like The Rock, he's trying to do it again, but John Cena has carried the WWE for such a long time, from like a big scale. And I'm talking about from a casual viewer. John Cena is the most current name noteworthy person that like my mom is gonna know. Like, my mom is in her 40s. If I say John Cena, she knows who I'm talking about. If I say Roman Reigns, she's not gonna know who I'm talking about. If I say CM Punk, she's not gonna know who I'm talking about. But if I say John Cena, she will. She'll get that. And I think that's what they're missing. I think that they're starting to get back to that, where they can, you know, have these stars that kind of cross over. But yeah, that's something that I noticed, really. As far as, you know, as I've been watching so far, the person that really, there are two people in the last 6 months that I've been watching that stand out to me and I really, really like. Person number one is Samantha Irvin. And I know, like, how, right? She's just an announcer. No. That woman, first of all, fine as hell. Like, every time she stands there, I just look at her. Look at the evidence. Like, my word, how beautiful is she? She nails it every single time. The voice, the announcement, come on, like, she does her job and then some. So much that she's literally like my second favorite person. Out of everybody, she is my second favorite person of this new generation. Because obviously, be clear, Hunter, Triple H, that is my husband. Was my husband when I was a child, is my husband now. Don't give a fuck about Stephanie. Let's be clear about where Triple H sits. Okay? He sits up there. Randy Orton sits up there. Batista sits up there. Triple H, husband. Batista, boyfriend. Randy Orton, side piece. It's been like that since I was 8 years old. That's just a fact. And it stayed that way. But outside of those people, Samantha and Jey Uso and just me, It's Jimmy, Jimmy. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know the words. I don't know the words. I just know the, and I get hype every time he comes out. I love Jey Uso. Yeet, like I'm here for it. I'm initiated. I'm that person. I'm here for it. Now I'm trying to learn his backstory a little bit. So I'm learning that he has a twin brother named Jimmy. That's why, bruh. If let me tell you, when Bad Blood came on yesterday, and then like they took off the mask, I'm like, what the hell is Jey Uso doing here? And it's like, oh my gosh, it's Jimmy. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jey Uso has a damn brother. I'm telling y'all, I'm learning. I don't know, right? Love Jey Uso, and since I've started watching 6 months ago to now, his star has like shot up. Like I'm paying attention because I really like his entrance, right? So I try to pay attention to like the different nights and the different cities that he's come up, and I can definitely tell. Like if you go back and watch WrestleMania and the people's reaction to him coming out versus like the other day, like his star, and he just won. I was so happy for him. I just so happened to be watching again because like I said, I recorded all of them, so I was binge watching everything before Bad Blood came on, and I was so happy that he won that belt. Like shout out to Jey Uso. Again, I'm only 6 months in and I'm a fan. He got me. And then as far as storylines are concerned, the Judgment Day one for me is like the one that I'm most interested in. I find that whole story arc real interesting with Rhea. Is that how you, is it Rhea Ripley? Yeah, Rhea, Liv, Dom, Damien. Like I like that. Carlito. I cannot, bruh. Carlito though. I love it. That man been around my whole life. Rey Mysterio, my whole life. Like I appreciate that people that were wrestling when I was a kid are still wrestling now. A lot of them are, or at least is still like a really big part of the organization. Again, it helps connect things a lot easier for me. But anyway, I really like the Judgment Day storyline. I think it's interesting. I love the fact that Rhea beat the shit out of Dom while he was hanging upside down. That gave me absolute life. Loved it. Liv is disgusting. She can go. Hate her. I say this with all due respect because, you know, these are my only black brothers on the show that I see, really, right? The whole New Day, one of the guys, it seems like he's like about to turn heel and he's having an issue with his partner. I'm not sold. I'm so sorry. All due respect to them young men, but it's the acting for me. The acting is way too bad. It's too over the top. And that's partially, they're one of the people that I was talking about when I say like it comes off kid friendly. Like nothing about their performance, like I'm talking about New Day, like the tag team or whatever the hell their names are. Nothing about their performance gives like like it's believable. It's overacted. They're doing too much. It doesn't feel like genuine and raw and real emotion. Now maybe this is just how their characters have always been for the last 10 something years, and who am I to come in as a new person and say I don't like it? But I'm telling you right now, I'm not into it because they're acting. It's bad for me. Like I get everybody here is playing a part, but it seems like out of everybody, they're doing the most as far as putting on. Like, just talk normal, talk regular. Stop trying to like overemphasize when you guys are talking. And especially to me, when they're in the back and they're having their conversation, I cringe and I fast forward every time because I cannot. But shout out to those brothers though. Shout out to them. And then the Bloodline storyline. Of course, I'm not going to mind that. It's The Rock. It's everybody like that. It's Roman's fine. It's anytime you can put Roman in front of me and he don't have to say nothing, I'm gonna be all for it. But yeah, right now I'm just into the Judgment Day storyline. Everything else, And then to touch on Bad Blood for a second, Hell in a Cell, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, amazing. Okay, this is how I knew it was getting real. When Drew slammed CM Punk into that damn cage and his daggone face started leaking, and then when he dropped CM Punk, I do not think was meant. when he went and he threw him and his back hit against the steel steps like that, that was not planned. That was insane. Like, as somebody, again, like as a new casual person, now I was a little thrown off that Hell in a Cell was in the beginning, because normally Hell in a Cell is like the main event, but after doing my research, I learned that this is the first time that they've ever done it. I think it kind of makes sense to like draw people in with the big event and then do stuff in the middle and then capsize it off. What I will say is that I do wish that they would have swapped it, because the last match were like Cody and Roman versus Solo and the other guy, that I can't think of his name, but that other guy that's like that's with Solo and them, he's insane. Like he's literally insane. Like he's great, but like he's insane. Like he scares me. But great. Like I said, that last match to me, it was okay. I feel like it was way too much time of just everybody standing around. Now again, don't get me wrong. Roman could stand right there for 30 minutes and not move and just look left and right like The Rock used to do. You ain't gonna hear no complaints from me. But from an entertainment standpoint, I didn't really care for the match. I thought it was really weak. Again, I feel like not a lot really went on until like the last maybe 2 seconds. It was too much of everybody staring at each other. And I know like a lot of the like wrestling fans, like diehard wrestling fans, are tired of, like, they're tired of The Rock, but like, he's The Rock. What are you gonna do? He sells. He's gonna get the casual viewer who don't watch anymore, and he's gonna get the person that does. Like, he's The Rock. I'm sorry, but what do you want us to do? He's iconic. He's the board member now. His star power sells. It's back to star power. Y'all need stars. And if you need The Rock to push it a little bit, that's what is gonna happen. But y'all get in the comments and y'all tell me what y'all think, though. This was just, again, my opinion. I'll be back probably in another 6 months once I did a full year. Maybe not. Maybe I'll come back when they do what's the next one? Are they doing, is it Crown and the Jewel that's next, or is it Survivor Series? Y'all tell me in the comments what's next, and if y'all would like for me to either review it or react to it. And I can do that, but y'all get in the comments, tell me what y'all think about. Bye.